We turn now to our Holly Williams in Erbil for more on the escalating conflict in the Mideast.
The U.S. says the strikes on Yemen last night targeted Houthi missile systems and launchers, as well as weapons storage and radars used by the group. A spokesman for the Houthis, who are supported by Iran, said the strikes will not deter them. The group says its assault on commercial and naval ships in the Red Sea, which started in November, is an expression of solidarity with Palestinians under bombardment in Gaza. The strikes in Yemen come just one day after the U.S. says it hit 85 targets here in Iraq and in neighbouring Syria that are used by Iranian forces and militia groups backed by Iran. There's been an uptick in those militia groups targeting the U.S. military in this region since the Israel-Hamas war began, with around 170 attacks using rockets and drones. The U.S. strikes reportedly killed around 40 people, including both fighters and civilians, and were retaliation for the deaths of 3 American soldiers in a drone attack a week ago at a military outpost in Jordan. There are around 2,500 U.S. troops based here in Iraq and around 900 over the border in Syria. Iran called America's response a, quote, strategic mistake. But the question now is whether the militia groups it backs will ratchet things up even further. When we interviewed Iran's foreign minister, Hossein Amir Abdollahian, in November, he claimed the militia groups in Iraq and Syria make their own independent calculations and decisions. There have long been fears that the Israel-Hamas war could widen into a regional conflict, likely involving Iran's proxies. Ironically, just a few years ago, the US and the Iran-backed militia groups were essentially on the same side in a different conflict, the war against ISIS. Now, the US appears to be trying to carefully calibrate its response. On the one hand, it doesn't want a further escalation of violence here in the Middle East. But on the other, it doesn't want to risk emboldening its enemies.
That's Holly Williams in Erbil.